What's going on, HPP fam? Welcome back to another episode. I'm JD, there's Gio, and we are diving into a new week. So as you can see, some cars have moved around. Brian's car is now on the lift because we are installing our DW fuel system on it. Ooh, look at all the goodies. Super exciting. I have yet to install one of DW's fuel system kits for a Charger Challenger. Basically, this fits pretty much all of them. So it'll be a first for me, but exciting nonetheless. And I will give you my honest review on this when I'm all said and done. This is definitely a more budget-friendly option in comparison to like a 4 Innovations kit, which would be like close to twice the cost depending on how you option it out. So let's dive into this. And y'all seen we left last week. Wayne's RS has been dynoed. So as soon as we get Brian's off the rack, this one will be coming on next to get a bunch of goodies, which I'll show you when we get it on the lift. So let me get you guys up to speed on where we're at. We've got our front crossover situated, and we know what we're going to be doing in the rear. So we've got that situated. We also know where we are going to add our regulator, which I'll show you guys that in a second. Right now, Gio is currently getting our lines ran. So we're getting our feed and our return line ran, and then we'll be able to get all that stuff connected. And that's the main thing that's holding this thing up. Once we get our fuel system together, we'll be able to fire it up. In the meantime, doing some diag on this Mustang. And we've got our C10 backed on in here so we can get started on measurements to figure out what all we're going to need to make the intercooler piping for our first Charger setup here. So let's dive in and take some measurements on this. We're going to have to pop the grill out of this thing so we can mount an intercooler. Yeah, you can see the lines down there. But moving right along, this one's going to be a fun one. I like doing fab work. We've pretty much got Brian's 100% wrapped up. As you can see, it's looking sharp. Got a regulator mounted up here. I'm actually going to put an insert right here to hold that. Whoop. Lighten that up. I'm actually going to put an insert in right here to hold that in place. Just haven't done that yet. I was getting everything set up, but as you can see, you're going to be able to see fuel pressure right there. And then if we end up using the rising rate, it's facing down, and our vacuum lines are right there. So easy connection there for our rising rate. And then as you can see, the manifold's all done. We've got our ram style. We've got our intake air and our methanol ran underneath on the charge pipe there, and everything's pretty much cleaned up. We are lacking the harness for the fuel pumps. We'll get that ordered today, but in the meantime, we're just damn unpopular. In the meantime, we're gonna get it hot wired to fire it up just to make sure everything's working and we got no leaks. So let's do that now. Go ahead. So guys, as you can see, we've got our next project on the lift, and that is this Ford Focus RS. We're going to be doing quite a few upgrades to this thing. So let's look over here at the table and see what we've got. So we've got a Mishimoto intercooler upgrade. We've got all the upgraded charge pipes. We've got a rear motor mount. We've got an access port. We're going to do a dual tune. We've got a Boomba shifter. We've got a Motul oil pan with the baffling in it. We're going to delete the balance shafts. And then we've got a TurboSmart wastegate and a sound suppression chamber plug kit. So that's everything that we got going on this thing. You guys seen, I believe, end of last week, we dynoed this thing. Put the link to that video right here. So we got our stock numbers. So we'll go ahead and start tearing this thing down. Put our parts on it, and then get her back on the dyno. See what kind of power she makes. So as you can see, rear motor mount is installed, and look at that beautiful new oil pan. And the reason for that new beautiful oil pan is because we removed the balance shaft assembly. So we removed it, plugged the oil hole for it, and installed, there's the oil pan, installed a multi-tool pan with the baffling inside. So Gio's putting the hardware back in there in the pan. We'll get that put all the bolts back in that, and that part will be done, and then we can move on to, as you can see, we've got the factory intercooler out, and that's because it's getting all the Mishimoto goodies. So we'll go ahead and get the intercooler unboxed first thing in the morning, and we'll get the rest of our goodies put on this thing, and hopefully it'll be pretty much wrapped up tomorrow. We still need to, we'll do an oil change on the trans, the engine, the PTO, the rear diff, the whole 9 yards. Get all the fluids changed. But we want to get all of our aftermarket parts installed, and then this thing will be hitting the dyno hopefully at the end of the week. As you can see, guys, Gio is lowering our focus down, and that's because we're about to get ready to start putting this intercooler on here. This big old Mishimoto. When I say big, I mean thick. Because here's our stock one, and here's our new one. Ooh, look at the thickness on that one, boy. Snicker than a snicker. Yes, Lord. Anyways, so guys, you kind of see from up top here, maybe we've got, nope, let me see that light real quick, Gio. See, we've got our Turbo Smart wastegate installed, so we're going to go ahead and get our heat shield back up in place, and then we'll get moving on forward with our intercooler piping. Taking a break from our focus. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. Oh, sorry. We're waiting on fluids, and our spark plug should be in today for this. So Gio has been just tidying up little odds and ends and putting the car back together. In the meantime, we started tearing down our C10 in preparation to get that intercooler in the nose of this thing, so that way we can cool all that hot air coming out of this D1SC Pro Charger. So, got the grill up this thing. Let's go ahead and see about mounting this intercooler in here. So as we headed towards the end of this week, as you see, we've got this 2017 Mustang GT on the rack. That's the one I diagnosed earlier in the week with some alternator problems. Now I want to take some time to touch on what we've found, and how we're fixing it. And I want to take the time to point out, if something ain't right and it takes a bunch of effort, to make it right and you're not using the right components, why do it? This is a prime example. So as you can see here, we have the correct alternator for this Mustang, and as you can see here, we have the wrong alternator for this Mustang. This customer had this alternator installed, and the person that installed it, the wiring didn't reach, so they extended the harness and then ran their own power cables instead of using the OEM stuff. Fords are picky, and it didn't like it. It was throwing codes for it. And that's expensive. It took a lot of effort to make all that shit when you could have just got the right alternator and been done. So I thought that was strange, but we're getting it fixed. It also had some intake problems, so we ordered an air raid intake for it, which is currently off the car, but we'll be putting it on, and I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second. I just wanted to touch on that. Like, man, whoever did that went through a lot of effort when they could have just got the right part to begin with, and it would have been cheaper and took less time to fix the car. Weird. But also, I mean, this car is full of weird things. If you look at the exhaust here, we're gonna have to address that. That's not okay. But one thing at a time. Let's get it. And like we expected, ladies and gentlemen, our Mustang is all fixed the right way. So, as you can see, we also installed this very nice air raid intake, and got the charging system working. There's not a bunch of weird wires coming all over the place anymore. This 2017 Mustang GT is saved. So, on to the next one. So guys, we got our remaining parts in that we needed for the fuel system. For Brian's, we were just waiting on DW for one part for the fuel level, which we should get first of next week. We'll be able to get this thing on the dyno and get it on back. Super excited about that. Our focus is on the dyno. Our focus is on the dyno currently. We're waiting on calibrations. We'll strap that thing down and start tuning on it Monday morning. We got our PCM back for our Jeep, and we have been making, sorry it's a little dark, we're shutting down. We're making great progress on getting this motor all back together as well, but we've had to get bolts that were missing because this thing's been to 2 other shops. Customer did not get all his stuff back, so we've been fighting that. Fortunately, we got a lot of bolts here, but we're slowly getting this one dialed in as well. But that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed the content. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.